Coming up on today's show.
And if you are perpetually running late to appointments, always missing deadlines, wishing that there were extra hours in the day.
Oh, Linda, you're hurting me on this one.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry,
You just gave me a big bell on that one.
You might not actually be ready to make any of the changes, but before you can make a change, you need to have the awareness of what you might want to change. So
Right.
I just wanted to point that.
Signals for Change, Part 2, today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. If you joined us last time, you'll know that we were working through this list of 10 signals or indicators for change that may point to change that you need in your life. And with us is Linda Samuels, oh so organized. Welcome back, Linda.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me here, John.
Yeah, so this list of things that we're talking about I think are great points for us they're triggers or signals or indicators that we know there may need to be change in our life. Now, remember, we're not talking about what you have to change to, or because people are going to know that, but these are just great little flags, kind of like that little, notification you get on your phone or email that says, it gets your attention, right?
That's
and
right.
then you're supposed to do something as a result of that. So we left off on number 5. Well, actually, we finished number 5 last time. So let's get into that list now and number 6.
Okay, so number 6 of the change indicators. Again, so these are clues or signals that indicate when it might be time to proactively seek change.
Right.
So number 6 is lateness. And if you are perpetually running late to appointments, always missing deadlines, wishing that there were extra hours in the day, if your life revolves around the steady flow of activities and responsibilities with really little time to catch your breath, almost no time to catch your breath, then that could be a cue or a sign that it's time for a change.
Oh, Linda, you're hurting me on this one.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry, John.
You just gave me a big bell on that one. Oh no.
You heard a big ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, I heard a big ding, ding, ding on that one. Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of people will say, well, I think I've even caught myself saying, it's just the way I lose track of time. That's my excuse.
Yes.
I can get up 4 hours earlier and still be out the door late because, whatever, I'm trying to do one more thing. So, that would be a great, actually, subject for another podcast on what kind of change we need to make. But I think that we would go way over if we rabbit trailed down on that one. But maybe that's a good one for next time. So, okay, so what is that it on number 6? Do you want to move on to number 7 now?
Yes, that's it on number 6.
Okay.
And the other thing I just want to mention here is that these change indicators, they are really that first sign. So it's the early stage of change where you might not actually be ready to make any of the changes, but before you can make a change, you need to have the awareness of what you might want to change. So
Right.
I just wanted to point that out again.
Okay, great. All right, number 7.
Number 7, I was holding up one finger. That's not 7, is it? There's 7.
That's 1 with 6 left over.
There you go.
Yeah.
So number 7 is plateau. And there may be times in your life when you hit a wall, like you've learned all you can from a situation, you've seen all there is to see in a place, you feel like your opportunity to learn and grow is kind of leveled off. So you may be feeling ready for a new challenge in your career, your job, or where you live, maybe even a relationship. And reaching that plateau is another cue that it could be time for change.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people hit those in all areas of their life, and I think we're coming up with a good list of other podcast topics, because I think what do you do when you hit a plateau? I mean, we're saying here's the signal for changing.
Yes.
But
now what?
Yeah, now what do we do? And again, we're not going to cover that in this episode, but I think that would be another great one, because I think a lot of people, don't you think a lot of people run into plateaus?
Absolutely. And the thing about this whole list that I'm giving you is these are the openings. These are the beginnings of the conversations. These are the things that start to get our wheels turning for figuring out what's next.
Right.
So it's interesting that you're sensing that, gee, this isn't quite the answer. You're right. It's not the answer. It's the beginning of the questions.
Right. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. How about number 8 now?
Number 8 is pain. So pain is a powerful emotion, and that can be used as a cue for change. So sometimes if you think about like how much energy does it take to hold on to the pain and the frustration that you might be experiencing right now, and think about, is it worth not changing? You know, sometimes you have to weigh those things. There's a writer who Anais Nin, and there's a quote that that I took from her, and she wrote, "There came a time when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." Yeah.
Well, you know, and we could illustrate this in all kinds of different ways, because, you know, because I can see physical pain, but also, you know, mental pain as well. But, you know, in physical pain, a lot of it is just inflammation. I mean, that's the indicator saying, you know, hey, why do you have that big bulge on your, you know, arm or whatever, because you just whacked it, or the big, you know, the blue, you know, like what is that called? Yeah, you're black and blue, and these are indicators that something happens in it. Now, maybe you should stop doing that, or touching a hot, you know, pot or something like that, and recoiling. You know, these are things that are like, okay, I think I should change what I'm doing. But I think this is really a broader kind of concept you're talking about, because it could really involve emotional pain and really all kinds of.
And it could even be, you know, when we think about, you know, I know that the podcast that you do at Smead, they're so wonderful, and they're about all types of different aspects of organizing. So even pain in the organizing, you know, people feel a lot of pain in having so much clutter or holding on to things, but they have a hard time letting go. And so there's this balance between the pain they're feeling and not feeling pain, and what has to happen in between to make that change.
Right.
So
great.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we got to finish up this list before the end of this podcast. So we are with Linda Samuels, Oh So Organized, talking about signals for change, and we'll be right back. Get organized in color at myorganized.life. myorganized.life. We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about signals for change. These things that tell us that, you know what, you need to make some changes in your life or your situation. And these signals just kind of warn us of this. What we change to is a whole other topic. But Linda, we've kind of gotten through 7 of these. We are 8 of these now, right? We have number 9 and number 10 left.
Yes.
So let's dig in right now. Number 9.
Okay, so number 9 is environment. So think about, how is your physical space? Is it designed in a way to support who you are and what you're doing? Or is it cluttered? Is it difficult to find what you need? Is it challenging just to function properly in your environment? Now, when your space isn't working, when it's not supporting who you are, you might feel overwhelmed. There's a good chance you will feel overwhelmed and frustrated. And this is another one of the change indicators. As a matter of fact, this is the change indicator that I hear most frequently from my clients as the cues that they're seeing that create that motivation and desire to make change. This is probably the number one that I hear.
Yeah, I can see a lot of situations too where your environment, you know, where you are physically, or, you know, outside. I mean, maybe you're someone who has allergies and you know, the outside environment really bothers you. You know, some people have to move because of things like that. So I think there's a lot of ways we could illustrate that.
That's right. It's not only about the organizing piece, but the physical space that we're in, whether it's our entire house or just one room in our house, or where we're working, or the outside world, all those things have a huge influence on how we feel and how we're responding and how we're moving about our day. So So if something isn't quite right and you're noticing, it's worth looking at that and
So
making some changes.
yeah,
Yep.
so when you're saying you open up the closet and everything starts falling out, it might be
Uh-oh.
time to
Yeah,
declutter a little bit, huh?
that's right. Might be.
All right, let's get to number 10.
Okay, so number 10 is opportunity. And Elise Summer said, sometimes opportunity knocks like a loud windburst. More often, it arrives like a burglar and disappears before you realize it was there.
Mm,
So you weren't looking for it, but there might have been an offer or an opportunity that has appeared before you. And that could be a change indicator that change is calling you.
right. I think you run into that a lot of times when people maybe in their job situation and maybe they're happy at where they're at, but all of a sudden they run into somebody at a conference or whatever, and then an opportunity happens, and it's like, well, I wasn't really looking for that, but here's this.
That's right.
Yeah, opportunities are great, and let's think about that from an organizing standpoint too. Maybe you have to move, right, which kind of gets back to the change thing, but.
Sure.
But here's an opportunity for you to declutter, or an opportunity for you to really get through some of that stuff you've been putting off.
Absolutely. So opportunity appears in all kinds of ways, and you can think about it in different ways. And sometimes when that opportunity presents itself, we may have a negative response to it, right? Or an
Right.
immediate response of, oh no, I'm not doing that. But again, if we can kind of slow ourselves down a little, be a little more mindful, we might start to hear it or see it in a different way. And, look, it's possible that we choose not to pursue the opportunity, but maybe it's something that's interesting. Maybe it's worthwhile pursuing.
Right. Awesome. Well, these are 10 great ones. I think this list right here would be wonderful, but I wonder if there's any more.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's interesting that you say that because I have one bonus change indicator for you.
I kind of knew that beforehand. I was just setting you up for that, but that's good. Let's give them more than they bargained for, right?
That's right. You get a little extra here.
Yeah, okay.
So number 11, this is what I call the whoa factor. And, all the change indicators and signals that I've been talking about, they're ones that you individually might notice, right? But a change indicator can also come from an outside source, like a family member, a friend, acquaintance, a stranger, a colleague. And so it's possible that this outside entity might notice something that you've gotten accustomed to or complacent about, or just are plain oblivious to. And when they notice it, and it may take the form of them actually saying something like, whoa, it could be a cue for you that maybe there's time to make, it might be time to start to look at making a change in some area.
Right. Oh, that's great. I think, too, sometimes we're blind to our own needs for change, and it maybe takes that outside nudge to just bring that into our life.
Yes, and I think sometimes also, we also don't always realize how some of what we're doing has an impact on others, and not that that's necessarily a reason to change, but it can be. So and sometimes that provides the motivation that you need. But again, if enough people are going, whoa, again, it may be something to look at or ignore. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to then do something about it. But again, the different indicators that we talked about, these are just the initial bubblings up of when maybe change is something that you want to embrace, as opposed to just, no, I'm not doing it.
Wow. Well, Linda, this is awesome. And if people want to see this, I know they can go to your site and see the blog post you did on this, which is ever evolving as well. And
Yes.
Before we go, tell people what kinds of services you provide and how they could get a hold of you.
Sure. So I help people get organized in their homes and their offices. I work both in person and virtually. I do presenting and all kinds of things. So the best way to get a hold of me is either on my organizing website, osoorganized.com, or my book blog website, theothersideoforganized.com. And I'm out there on social media, you can contact me very easily. So I'd love to hear from you. And John, thank you so much. It's always wonderful being here with you.
Well, we love having you back. And you know, we've already come up with like 3 or 4 other podcast ideas throughout these 2 episodes here. So I know we're not running out of information yet, right?
That's right.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. I think now if you watch the previous episode or listen to it, depending on how you consume this podcast, and this one right here, you've got not only 10, you've got 11 change indicators or signals for change. And just listen to your body, listen to your mind, understand these things, because there may be change that you need to make in your life as well. But one of the things we don't want you to change is not watching this podcast or listening to this podcast anymore. So come back next time for Keeping You Organized.